Welcome to the December 20th, 2021 Redevelopment Commission. This is the last Redevelopment Commission for 2021. Let's make it a good one. So let's go to our first item, which is roll call. Commissioners.
Deb Hutton here.
Deborah Meyerson here.
David Walter here.
And Nick Kapp is here. And staff.
John Zodi with hand.
Christina Finley, hand.
Very on legal.
Yeah, there is. Okay, I think that is who we have for staff. All right, moving on to item number 2, which is the reading of the minutes for December 6th, 2021. Commissioners, any questions, edits, or comment? Not edits, but any comments on the minutes for December 6th? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton, I move to accept the minutes of
December 6th.
December 6th, 2021.
This is David Walter. I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kapp, yes. Minutes for December 6th, 2021 have been approved. Examination of claims for December 10th for $99,894.26. Commissioners, any comments or questions around the claims for December 10th? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
This is David Walter. I'll make a motion to accept claims.
Deborah Meyerson, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kapp, yes. All right, claims for December 10th, 2021 have been approved. Examination of payroll registers, item number 4 on tonight's agenda, November 19th, 2021 for the amount of $34,262.12. December 3rd, 2021 for $33,855.85. Commissioners, any comments, questions around payroll registers? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Deborah Meyerson, I'll make a motion to approve the payroll registers as requested.
Okay.
Deb Hutton, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kapp, yes. All right, payroll registers for November 19th and December 3rd, 2021 have been approved. On to item number 5, report of officers and committees. Let's go to Director's report. Director Zodi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Commissioners. A couple things on the report for tonight. Looks like our first meeting is going to be January 10th at 5 o'clock. There are some conflicts taking place for January 4th. So I think we're going to settle on January 10th as the first meeting of 2022. Just want to make sure I just flag for all of you an email I sent, making sure you saw the articles in the Herald Times today about the hospital project. And I know I've given you a series of updates as commissioners, and just want to flag that, and happy to answer any questions that you have at any time about that project. And then finally, just want to thank President Kappas for his service on the commission. So hope you all have a happy holiday.
Thanks. Any questions for Director Zodi about the Herald Times articles or anything like that? Okay. Moving on to, thank you for that, Director Zodi. On to legal report, Mr. Allen.
The legal report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Commissioners? Hearing any. Treasurer's report. I know Mr. Underwood is not here, but I'm sure anyone can direct any questions towards Mr. Allen. If there are any. Not seeing any. I don't think Director Crawley is he on tonight. I do not see him. So Business development updates, Mr. Allen, do you have any on that?
I don't have any updates at the moment, but again, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, any questions for Mr. Allen on 3 topics? No? Okay.
This is Dave Walter.
great.
Just a quick one. Do we have any more interest in the properties along Cottage Grove?
We only received the one offer on Cottage Grove, and so the last I left it, Brent from Hand is still in the process of negotiating with the one offerer and trying to discern what makes the most sense for those along the ways. I think the person that offered on multiple parcels, not just the one in which he was an abutting landowner. And so that's one of the factors. My recommendation to Brent was to sum up all the considerations and present it to the RDC so that you all can make a final decision on what happens with that. So that is forthcoming still.
Yeah,
Okay.
one person is going through and making offers, David, which is kind of what we said would happen.
Well, maybe they've got a double wide they want to put down.
Maybe. All right. Any other questions? All right. On to new business, item number 6 on tonight's agenda. So we have 4 resolutions tonight. Resolution 21-91, approval of funding for right-of-way acquisition for the Vlan Trail and multi-use path. Resolution 21-92, approval of funding for right-of-way acquisition for multimodal improvements along 17th Street between Monroe Street and Grant Street. Resolution 21-93, approval of engineering inspection agreement of the core administration building on the Legacy IU Health Hospital site at 2nd and Rogers. And resolution 21-94, approval of funding for HVAC improvements at the Buskirk Chumley Theater. So let's go ahead and jump into the first resolution, 21-91, approval of funding for right-of-way acquisition for the Vlan Trail and multi-use path. Who's up?
Hello, this is Roy Yates, and I'm with the City Engineering Department. I think I can speak to the first one. It's been about a year since we brought this project to the commission. This is for a multi-use path that we'll be constructing that begins at the western terminus of the B line. It moves along the railroad track, and then it runs up Fountain Drive and then up to Crescent Drive to connect to our existing facilities on 17th Street. We're currently in the right-of-way phase of the project, so we are acquiring parcels right now. I think there's a total of 19 parcels that are being acquired. And there's been a couple changes in the project that we wanted to bring to the attention of the commission. One was some of our funding has changed around where we do have some construction funding now from federal funding. So we wanted to update those figures for you, and they're on the approval form. Also additional is something that I just realized when I was reviewing this for this meeting just now, that our contract dates have been pushed out also about a year. So initially on the approval form that you see in front of you, that we have an end date of December 31st, 2022. Our letting for this project will be in November of 2022, and our construction season will be in 2023. So we're in right away now, but our construction won't be until 2023. But we will be coming back to the commission between now and then to update some of these dates, especially when we get closer to construction and we have a good idea of what our estimates are going to be for that time. This evening, our bigger changes are right-of-way acquisition costs. They have gone down from $897,000 down to $400,000. And that's from trimming back a lot of what we needed in right-of-way. And so what we're looking for this evening is just a resolution just to get those funds so that we can start to pay for our right-of-way acquisition costs. Available for any questions.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that. Commissioners, any questions? Yeah, I have a question actually. So what have we done an updated appraisals to understand that we don't need 497,000 for right-of-way acquisitions. Is that what happened? Or did we materially change where we're trying to acquire land?
So the first time we brought it to the commission, we had that 897,000 that we thought was going to be, those were based on a projected right-of-way cost. And that number was done before we had appraisals done on the project. Since then,
Okay.
we've had appraisals done, we've had T&E reports and everything. And we have a lot better numbers now, and the numbers have dropped quite a bit for that. So that's what you're looking at, a reflection. That reduction's just us getting better numbers from our projections.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, those are good numbers. I appreciate that. Any other questions by the commission? If not, I will go to the public for any comments, not questions, but comments on this resolution. Not seeing any hands. I'm going to come back to the commission for any final comments or thoughts on this resolution, and then a motion.
Just a quick clarification, in addition to the, more accurate appraisal on the right-of-way acquisition, looking at the sources of funds, the federal funding's gone up and the TIF obviously has gone down in terms of what the request is. Is that the federal funding going up? Is that, has the scope of work changed, or kind of is it just that the source is known now?
So initially, the federal funding that was available to us is 770,000. That was both for right-of-way acquisition and construction. But at that time, we had zero in the construction side. We've since amended our TIP from the federal side, and we've actually got more funding for construction. So the right-of-way contribution hasn't changed any, but we were able to find more funding, federal funding, to cover some of our construction costs. So that's where you see that large, that number went up for the amount of federal funds, but a lot of those funds are going into construction now, where beforehand, nothing was going into construction.
Thank you.
Okay. So back to the commission. I'd entertain a motion at this time.
Deb Hutton, I'll move to approve Resolution 2191, which is approval of funding for the right-of-way acquisitions for the Beeline Trail and multi-use path.
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. Resolution 21-91, approval of funding for right-of-way acquisition for Beeline Trail and multi-use path has been approved. Thank you very much for your presentation today. All right, moving on to Resolution 21-92, which is the approval of funding for right-of-way acquisition for multimodal improvement along 17th Street between Monroe Street and Grant Street.
Hi, everyone. Neil Copper with the engineering department. So this is a project that installs multi-use path on the north side of 17th Street between Monroe and Grant. It also replaces and improves the traffic signal at the 17th and Madison / Kinzer intersection. It does some minor realignments of the intersection at College. It resurfaces the street, and it also replaces all of the pedestrian curb ramps on the south side of the street. Similar to the Beeline project, we are here asking for right-of-way funding. Also similar to that project, the initially estimated right-of-way funding amount was much higher than we actually needed. So we're happy to decrease that here, just in case there is the same question that came up last time, that yes, the initial number was prepared before we had any appraisals or anything. So now we have much better numbers, and also the original number assumed that in the tight corridor, we were originally worried there might be a full take of a parcel, and we're very happy that that did not end up being the case. So we're able to save quite a bit of funding there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Wondering, does this right-of-way acquisition include a specific connection to Tri-North, so that in terms of like students or teachers being able to use the connection as efficiently as possible.
So the project does not include a connection to Tri-North. There's no work directly on that parcel. The south side of the street there already has sidewalk. We are installing multi-use path on the north side of the street, but there are no specific connections to it.
Is this to essentially connect the plan to connect 17th Street up to the roundabout, and then is that what it is?
Yeah. So if you look, this is the gap along
Okay.
17th Street. So to the east of the project, there's multi-use path on the north side all the way over to Jordan. And on the west, it goes beyond the roundabout, actually out to Vernal Pike and well into the county with multi-use path.
Fantastic. Okay, great.
A question to Deborah's question about Tri-North connection to the multimodal path. What would it have to be a completely different project to plan and fund such a connection up to the school?
Well, I think it depends on what you mean by a connection. So if you mean like a connection through the school property, that would of course be a very different thing. Or if you mean a connection like an improved street crossing, that I guess what do you mean when you say connection?
I'll speak for me, and that would be a safe passage. If you're biking, you're carrying, you have kids behind you and biking straight up to the school, probably up the street there. Can't remember the name, but right now it's just a street with parking on both sides. I don't believe there's sidewalks even going up to the school, or there weren't last time I was up there.
Yeah, my question was similar to what Ms. Hutton just said, just that trying to envision, making full use of the multimodal path that would help encourage non-motorized access to the school. You may have seen what it looks like. At least I've been through there on Monroe Street at dismissal time. It's just a total nightmare in terms of car traffic and I guess, parents picking up their kids. And so to the extent that this awesome multimodal path could make it as easy as possible to encourage other modes of transportation, that was my thinking behind that question.
Yeah, and I think we've maybe heard this before, had this discussion before, that I do think it's a good point of how to get from the north side of the street to the south side of the street. Right now, the best way is at the roundabout, using the existing crosswalks at the roundabout. Depending on what your preferred route is to get to the school, of course, if you instead crossed at Maple and went up Maple, it's not ideal for someone on bicycle, but there is kind of a connection through that you can get over to the middle school from there. But the project kind of picks up towards the east end of the school because there is some existing multi-use path there already to the west, and at the roundabout it already extends east a bit from the roundabout and goes east from there. And it just doesn't include some sort of enhanced crosswalk.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Copper? Not hearing any. I go to the public. Any comments on this resolution by the public? I'm not seeing any hands, any requests. So back to the commission. Commissioners, any final comments on this resolution and or a motion?
This is David Walter. Just want to comment that this will be a vast improvement for people who access between these streets. And I'm looking forward to these improvements being accomplished. With that, I'll make a motion to accept resolution 21-92.
Deb Hutton, I'll second.
I second Dave's comments on this. So we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. All right, resolution 21-92 has been approved. Thank you very much for that presentation. On to resolution 21-93, approval of engineering inspection agreement of the core administration building on the Legacy IU Health Hospital site at 2nd and Rogers. Who's up?
Mr. President, I'll start here and Larry might chime in here if I missed something. But as you all know, we are, now that the hospital has moved to the new site, Legacy Hospitals, what the quote unquote old site's being referred to as. So as a part of that, as processes move along here, the steps to do our due diligence on the preservation of the core building include looking at what the costs of that are while the building would await redevelopment for what is right now a fairly unknown period of time. That we are getting estimates on the stabilization and partial demolition costs from IU Health. So that first step, if you look at this as a two phase process, if you will, there's the first step, which is the stabilization of the building, what that costs, as well as what partial demo would need to take place to separate the buildings from the historically designated core building. There's that estimate. So IU Health is starting to communicate with us about that. The second piece is once the building is, all the utilities are turned off, it's decommissioned, and it is ready to sort of sit, we have to look at what the costs are to have it sit in stasis mode for a period of time that could be 18 to 24 months, depending on and the redevelopment possibilities there. So what this service agreement would do would work with applied engineering to come in and do an assessment of what those costs would be. I think the resolution has it not exceed $15,000 to do that assessment. And the scope of work includes obviously meeting with city staff and doing a site visit and making recommendations for what those utilities or what the services would need to be in the building to keep it sort of climate controlled and as settled as possible while it would await redevelopment. So obviously all the utilities being disconnected creates an environment where we need to look at the climate there and what that means for the integrity of the building. So ask Mr. Allen if he has anything to fill in there or anything else if you have questions.
I don't have anything to add to that. That's great.
All right, commissioners, do you have any questions for either Director Zodi or Mr. Allen? Not hearing any. I'm gonna go to the public. Anyone from the public have comments on this resolution? Not seeing any. We're gonna come back to the commission for any final comments and or a motion.
This is David Walter. Just a general question. After Applied finishes their survey, I presume that the survey would be public record and available for the commissioners and other interested parties to look at.
Might ask Larry that question about at what point it would be public record. I think they thought they'd have their services done within 30 days of beginning, but defer to Mr. Allen on public record timelines there.
For that kind of report, once we receive it, it would be a public record. So if the commissioners wanted to inspect that, we could arrange that, certainly.
Yeah, there's a lot of community interest in this building, and I think sharing, we already have a structural evaluation, I believe, from RC engineers, and this is kind of the second half for temporary heating of the building and maintaining some of the systems in there for fire protection. That would be of interest to several people, as particularly when it comes down to what's this going to cost.
Right. Well, and just for clarification, this 15,000 that we're allocating is just for that survey and
That's
not
correct.
actual any work.
That's correct. That's just for the services to be performed and the contract for applied. That doesn't include any cost of actual maintenance.
What kind of turnaround time would this have?
They would have stuff done within 30 days. So we would engage them. And then I think they thought the timeline they put on it, Mr. President, would be a 30-day turnaround, if that answers your question on.
It does. Is that sufficient, considering we're going to be 30 days from now would be heading into the heart of winter
Yeah.
for this building?
Well, so we don't expect the building to lose its utilities until sometime, I would say into the middle of the first quarter next year. And so there is time in January to perform the services. But you are appropriately pointing out the tightness of the timeline here on the building itself and what that means. So we think January is a good time to be doing that. And I think, without speaking out of turn, I think Applied feels like they can get all of it done in 30 days. And we think that meets with the timeline.
Okay, because then, you would have to draft up a resolution for that first meeting in February to meet that essentially deadline for services being cut off by IU in order to get it transitioned over. And yeah. So yeah, it is an incredibly tight timeline to have that 30 days.
That's right. We communicate with IU Health pretty regularly. So I'm hopeful that we could get, that we'll stay in touch on that as well. They're going to be needing to come to the Historic Preservation Commission to do some of the things I talked about with that partial demo on the outside of the building. That will require some action by the HPC to allow that to go forward. So we'll be talking to them quite a bit about the core building.
Okay.
So this is David Walter. I'm ready to make a motion that we accept this resolution.
Deb Hutton seconded.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and go to roll call.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Apis, yes. Resolution 21-93 has been approved. And thank you for that very detailed presentation and question and answer. All right. And on to resolution 21-94. If I can get there. Oh my goodness. Sorry, my computer. There we go. Approval of funding for HVAC improvements at the Buskirk Chumley Theater. Who's up?
I think I'm the lucky party for this one this time. So we do have some upgrades to the BCT HVAC. The central story here is Actors Equity of America, which is an actors union for stage actors, has come up with some standards in light of the COVID-19 pandemic for basically baseline guidelines for its actors to perform in particular theaters. And those include some HVAC upgrades for the amount of air filtration, scrubbing, air turnover, and filtration that goes on in the dressing room areas and the stage areas. So what this is using under the partnership agreement that the city of Bloomington has, including the Redevelopment Commission has with the Buskirk Chumley Theater. We have pledged $74,000 in TIF funds for any upgrades that are TIF eligible for the building. There are several projects that are going to be undergoing at the BCT under a variety of funding to kind of upgrade the building and to kind of get it ready for a big anniversary year in the upcoming year. But this is one of those things that's actually, as I understand it, has been, if not mandatory, strongly encouraged for any actors to be able to perform in the theater. It's something that we've had to do with the Waldron as well to upgrade that space for actors, and this will upgrade the filtration for the HVAC to MERV 13. It adds air scrubbers specifically to the stage and the dressing room areas, adds ionization devices, and the total cost for this will be $81,000, which $74,000 will be paid out of TIF, and the remaining $7,000 will be covered under city recover forward funds for this. This work was selected. There was a bid put out. HFI was the responding bidder, and they submitted the winning bid for $81,000. And this work would be completed within the coming year. The deadline is December 31st, 2022, but we anticipate that this would be completed very shortly so that we could get actors, unionized actors in there to perform so that we could maximize the use of the space as we've always done. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have or try to answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, Larry. Deb here. Was this heavily pushed recently because of COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Actors Union, it's not just the Actors Union, they did it in conjunction with a few other unions, but they've developed these standards specifically in response to the pandemic and what is safe for their unionized members.
Sure. Thank you.
I have a question about Exhibit A. There's the scope of work, and then after that is the actual quote. But the instructions for the quote for the City of Bloomington's form says that the pricing should include all costs, et cetera, including a detailed breakdown of the cost of work by line items. And I realize that technically this breaks it down into auditorium space and dressing rooms, but it seemed a little light on that detailed section. I was wondering if that is typical of how these quotes are delivered or if more detail might be expected.
So one of the things, the answer is yes and no. Is the actual answer here. So is it typical of what we receive? It is typical of what we receive. Is it something that we would like to have or the detail that we'd like to have? No. And specifically whenever this is being invoiced, particularly if it's going to be invoiced in phases, we expect more detail in terms of the work performed in each step of the way. What we look to here is it is breaking it out by space, but in the previous page where it lists the scope of work by bullet point items, while it doesn't list out the price for each one of those things, that is typically sufficient enough specificity for us to get an idea of why there's a cost differential between the dressing rooms and the space, additionally to square footage, but also in terms of specifically what types of work will be performed there. So in this case, for this is part of a bid packet. So those particular pages are pulled out of a standard bid packet that we have. We do like to see very specific bids. We just don't always get that.
Okay, thanks for your help.
As helpful as that may or may not have been, but yeah.
I mean, Commissioner and Deborah has a great point that, on these RFQs, moving forward, I think an expectation, especially for RDC, to be communicated out to different vendors, service providers, what have you, is that we would like to see more detail. And I understand the bullet points. You can clearly say, okay, auditorium space, you go up and you see the inclusions here. Very simple. You did a good job of putting these back to back. However, yeah, maybe some more description, could be at least had. So.
And to that point, I would also say that this does factor into the competitive nature. So anytime we have several bids, this kind of the specificity or lack thereof can go against a bidder. So it's kind of a risk that they take, whether if they come in close to cost or something. More specificity usually helps us.
Yeah, I agree.
Award those bids.
So my question is, so from a TIF standpoint, I know Mr. Underwood's not here, so do your best, Mr. Allen, but from a TIF standpoint, how is this 74,000, being approved for this specific use? Is it because, it's hard, I'm trying to connect the dots between the TIF dollars to this specific cost. Is this very much like what we approved at the last meeting, where the hand department got a request for a new HVAC for a couple of units and they provided that? Is that the same thing here, just on a larger scale?
Sort of. So in the previous one, those are CDBG funds. So for TIF funding, we can't use it for replacement or repair, but we can use it for public improvements. And so public improvements has a fairly broad definition. In this case, what we do look to is, it's not just, in this case, we're not repairing the HVAC system. What we're doing is enhancing the HVAC system to act as an improvement to this building so that it can continue to function as a theater. So these are add-ons to the HVAC. we've replaced the HVAC in the BCT before, and what we've looked to there, whether it was TIF eligible, is you can't do a one-to-one replacement. So are you actually increasing the energy efficiency, for instance, would be one factor. We look at similar with lighting in the BCT whenever we did a lot of switches to LED lighting. So going from less efficient lighting to more efficient lighting, and does that increase the usability of the space for the public so that it doesn't look like we're just, and in fact we aren't, just providing regular maintenance or a regular replacement. And so in this case, this falls within the improvement category, where we're adding services onto this HVAC to make it a public improvement to this building, to make it more usable for these unionized actors.
Okay, you answered my question very well. Thank you. Any other questions by the commission? Not hearing any. I'll go to the public. Any questions from the public? Not questions, but comments from the public on this resolution? All right, not seeing or hearing any. Back to the commission for final thoughts, comments, and or motion.
This is Deb Hutton. I'm making a motion to approve resolution 2194 for the approval of funding for the HVAC improvements at the Buskirk Chumley Theater.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to roll call.
Deb Hutton, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes.
David Walter, yes.
Nick Kappas, yes. Resolution 21-94 has been approved. Okay, that concludes today's new business for item 6 on tonight's agenda. Item 7 is business general discussion. Anything for the good of the order? Anyone?
If I may, Mr. President. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this is David Walter. I just wanted to express my thanks to Nick for being president of the commission and for running these meetings so well. And hope him all the best as he moves to his new home.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your service on the commission.
Appreciate that. It's very reluctant leave, but you know it's happening. But you know, I am going to an annexed area, so I'll be back. Don't you worry. Mr. Allen, you had something you were going to say?
Well, beyond also, thank you, Mr. President, for your service. It's been outstanding. Thank you very much. The second thing I wanted to issue an apology to Tim Street from Parks. We had talked about the Seminary Square lighting that he expected to be on the agenda. My understanding was that we would have estimated cost for installation, and he wanted those separated out. So that's why it didn't end up in the agenda. I just wanted to alert you all that that'll be coming in January, and to express my appreciation for Tim to get all that organized, and it just didn't happen to be on the agenda. So thank you.
Okay, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to get it right. So January it is. Well, I want to say, you know, I appreciate everyone's support and, you know, dedication on this commission. It's an extremely important commission that doesn't get enough attention. I think everyone, you know, coming in twice a week and putting their time and effort into, you know, improvements of this community is beyond exemplary. So I've really enjoyed working with all of you. I can honestly say that I'm going to miss this commission the most. So thank you all for making this very easy for this president. So whoever comes in, they're going to have a great, you know, crew to work with, and whoever's president, you know, continue to do great work. Anything else after that?
Very practical question. John Zodi, you mentioned that officially our first meeting in January will not be the 3rd, but the week later in January 10th. So does that mean our second meeting will be the week after on the 17th? Because it would have been a 3rd and 17th. So now it'll be the 10th and the 17th? Just
that's, yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Deborah. I apologize.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I think we will have 2 meetings in a row if business calls for it. I think we should plan on that. Hey, just a minute, buddy. So the calendar would call for that, Commissioner. So if there is the business to do 2 meetings, I think we would go ahead and do that. Larry, I don't know if you have any comments there, but that's what I would suspect would be the case.
The other option is we could take a poll as well to hold it on the 24th, because January is a weird month with 5 Mondays in it. So we'd have the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, and then the 31st. So we could also send out a poll if commissioners want, just to see what works best, either back-to-back meetings or a little bit of a gap between the meetings.
Isn't the 17th Martin Luther King Day?
You know what? You're correct, Commissioner. It is.
Or the 18th or the 24th. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I was just quick glancing at the calendar. It might have been a day off, but I was thinking that following Monday might be a holiday also. And so that might require.
It is the
Yeah,
17th.
You're right.
Martin Luther King Day. Yep.
I think Larry was talking about doing a meeting on the 18th if we had to, which is Tuesday. Which
Oh,
is,
sorry. Okay. I missed some of that.
Yeah, which we sometimes do if we have a Monday holiday, but that's a good point. So we may go ahead and do something on the 24th if we need to, rather than the 17th, since it's a holiday.
So can we decide that? Because I got a calendar with lots of stuff piling into January. So I'd like to know to make sure I save it for the RDC if possible.
Unless other staff disagree, I think it's the will of the commission to go ahead and do that on the 24th. So our meetings for January would be the 10th and the 24th at 5 p.m. Christina, do you see anything on the calendar that would prevent that?
No, I would have to check to make sure we have a meeting room available in case we're meeting in person.
Yeah, we don't yet know what that's going to look like. It would be a hybrid meeting, but we'd have to have a majority of the commission there in person, I believe. So
Still with the Omicron?
well, I did.
It's up to the governor.
Governor's order. So the governor, we haven't usually found out the situation for the next month until late in the previous month. So we're kind of in a sticky spot here for the holidays. So all things being equal, if we want to plan on the 10th and the 24th, then allowing we can get a room, we'll go with that.
Thank you very much. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
John, I checked it. Sorry, Deb. I checked and that is available. So I'll go ahead and put McCluskey in
Thank
Okay.
case.
Yeah, this is David Walter. I'd just like to task Larry Allen to go back and read the code on this, or rules. As I recall, Redevelopment Commission is supposed to meet on the first business day of the new year. But that's my fuzzy memory. And we probably should have legal just double check that to make sure that we are okay with shifting this off.
I checked it before we moved it to the 10th, and we have to meet within 30 days of the first day. So it does account for that. I think previously it was the first business day right after the new year. So sometimes that would fall in the second, but we have 30 days for that first meeting. So the 10th, we are still good and legally covered for that first meeting.
All right, that's great.
We
Doesn't
thinking
matter to
ahead.
me, I'm always here.
So the 10th, the 24th at 5 p.m. in McCluskey if required, and on Zoom otherwise. So that's the story. Sorry for background.
Hey, John, the 24th is on a Friday. Is that okay?
What?
It's not.
Isn't it?
No, it's not.
January 24th?
No.
That should be a Monday, Christina.
December 24th
January.
is what you're seeing. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
We just want a little
ignore me.
excitement for Nick's last meeting here.
Yeah. Like, everyone's like, hey, let's get going. He's out. All right. Well, with that, I think we have concluded business general discussion. On to the last item on tonight's agenda, adjournment. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second
Or a
that.
second? All right. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a happy holidays.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy New Year's.